Hi, I'm Danielle, and welcome back to my channel where I talk about whatever it is I feel like. And today we have another episode of We Have Makeup at Home After Dark. Yes. I got a Cayman Jack margarita, and we are going to talk about the Bellabeautebar Cloud 9 palette. So this one is launching on Wednesday, July 22nd. Interesting. At 12 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be $69 and it features 7 multi-chrome shimmers and 5 mattes. So what they say on their, launch post is that the owner had a concept for a palette that they wanted to do that was heavy on special shimmers, but they still wanted a few mattes in there, and this is the result. So this is a smaller palette for them. It's only 12 shades, if I'm not mistaken, and it looks kind of like a candy cloud dream. It looks really pretty. And as soon as I saw this palette, I knew exactly what look I wanted to make, and it's this look right here. So I'm going to walk you through the palettes that I have that I, one, used to make this look, and two, that I think kind of help dupe the vibes a little bit. It feels so bad to say, considering this is like episode 4 or something, that this one was kind of hard. Um, when I do a smaller palette, I want to also find smaller palettes that I have that kind of dupe the vibe. I don't want to grab a big 35 Morphe palette or just like a huge like rainbow palette, because I feel as though, I don't know, it's not as challenging to me to just, grab a huge palette. That being said, I definitely stretched my little guidelines a little bit with the palettes that I grabbed because I feel like I didn't have any that were 12 pan that really, you know, were this color story. So I have 3 palettes that kind of help me get some of the vibe a little bit. I have one 9 pan, a separate 9 pan that I needed just for the blues, basically. So let's get into what I have going on here. We're going to start with the largest palette that I have, which is a 20 pan. It's also from Bellabeautebar. And how I was thinking of this was my infamous, if you cut out this part of the palette, it's the same. You know what I mean? But this is the Dark Dreamscapes palette. It's really beautiful. And you're going to see what I mean with cut out part of the palette. Right here. So I feel as though this gives the kind of, again, if you cut out this bit, and ignore my nails because these press-ons suck. But if you cut out this bit, the like pinky tones and the kind of teal tones, even the bit of orange, it really gives the candy coated vibes that I think the Bellabeautebar palette has in it. Also, the shimmers that they sell are absolutely spectacular. So I wanted to find at least one palette in this little Dupe the Vibes video that had some really beautiful special multichromes, and what better than Bellabeautebar. The next palette is an 18 pan. Again, it was very hard for me to find something that was relatively small because I felt as though all my small palettes were a little too pastel, and the Bellabeautebar Cloud 9, that's definitely more mid-tone, but I was getting too much pastel. So this is the Citrus Punch palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics, again with the kind of get rid of part of it, but I feel as though these kind of tones here, even some of this, almost like this little 9 pan here, I think this section really mimics that like peachy pink tone that the Cloud 9 palette has. Obviously without this, but like even this 12 pan, I think, is if they expanded on the peachy pink kind of dreamy cloud like colors, I think. So yeah, you're definitely going to see me dip into this palette for the front half of my look. But that's where my thought process is right now. The next palette is from Give Me Glow. I am 99% sure they don't sell this anymore, but this is the Pastel Dream palette. This is 18 pans, and I think this was the closest that I had to a palette that encompassed the color story in a relatively small palette, you know? I think the clouds on it kind of helped me out. Yeah, I think the clouds really help me out. They kind of give that cotton candy dream like effect. So right here, as you can see, again, the greens and yellows, don't need them at all. But if you stay on this top section here, the pinks, the purples, this kind of like purple that's like a periwinkle, purpley blue type of tone. I also dig into this palette to get some colors too, but I definitely think these top two rows, especially, which is 12, will kind of give a very similar vibe. The shimmers are not as special, as in they're not multichrome or duochrome, but they are still really nice shimmers. But if you want to have a multichrome in the palette, I I personally have quite a few individual multichromes that I could dig into. I have multichrome palettes from like Day Day Signature, Playing in Makeup. Like I have quite a few multichrome palettes I could dig into, but I wasn't focusing on that part. I was mostly focusing on the mattes in the color story that I was trying to really dupe the vibe of. Lastly, this doesn't dupe the vibe at all. This is my bonus 9-pan palette because I needed the blue. And that is this little guy from Glam Shop. This is a European indie brand. It's the Niebieski 2020 palette, and it's just blues. And they're very true blues. And I'm going to carefully open this because this is maybe the most delicate palette that I own, and I don't want it to explode everywhere. See, this palette, dusted, disgusted, busted. I love it so much, but yeah, I just needed blues, so this is where I picked up the blues from. Granted, again, this doesn't dupe the vibe of the palette, but I needed blue, and I was trying, again, to not get a really huge palette to kind of dupe the vibes, you know? Felt like cheating. That being said, I couldn't find a palette smaller than 18 pans to give me the effect that I wanted. So yeah, those are the 3 palettes that I kind of dip into to dupe the vibes, plus my bonus blue 9-pan that I needed for the outer corner. And with that being said, we're going to get into this look that I absolutely adore. It's so pretty. Yeah, let's get into it. Interestingly enough, when I first saw this palette, I knew exactly what kind of look I wanted to create, and I knew I had all the colors to create this look. The part that got a little bit hard was finding one palette or like a smaller, more curated palette that can give me that kind of look. But we tried our best. We tried our best. So, what I want to do is I want to do the kind of peachy pinky tones in the front of my eye and then blue on the outer part of the eye and maybe the lower lash line too. I'm kind of torn on whether or not I want to do the peach like kind of in the first half of my eye or if I want to just make it all blue. We'll see what happens. So, the first palette I'm going to start off with is Citrus Punch, and I'm going to go into Quench. And because this is an After Dark episode, now we got to decide whether or not I'm actually going to put face makeup on because you know, I did end up priming my lid a little bit just because I like how it makes things flow. Did I mention the sparkle? I don't think I mentioned the sparkle. But the sparkle that I want to use is the kind of like purpley blue one. This is what we have so far. It's just that quench color. Looks really, really pretty. Is there no blue? Oh, I don't have a blue. Let me find a blue. Okay, so surprise palette I'm adding. My God. I'm going to use this from Glam Shop. This is Niebieski 2020. And I'm just going to dip into this center shade. I'm being very careful with this palette because it is so delicate right now. I've had it for a while and I love it. It has some of my favorite blues. This looks a little insane, half finished, but trust the process. We're going to go into Supernatural right here and just kind of fluff that along the edge. Same brush. I have a Sigma switch that I use between colors. But I'm going to put that around the edge a little bit. Ooh. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's doing exactly what I wanted to do. Look at my blue finger. It's because this palette is so delicate. I'm going into this darker shade here to really deepen up the outer corner. When I tell you this is exactly what I had in mind when I first saw this palette, I love it so much. So now we're going into a shimmer. We're going to use the Dark Dreamscapes palette, and we're going to go into this Astral Projection shade. I will say this shade is tempting me. However, I think this one's a little bit more true to the palette. Another time I'll use that Parallel Dimension shade that I love so much. It might be one of my favorite multi-chromes ever. But we're just going to go into the more purple toned one and start putting it on the lid. And that's why it doesn't matter that this looks very crazy. Because the shimmer is going to save it and make it look gorgeous. Oh, yes. Oh. It's doing exactly what I wanted to do. That's so pretty. Sorry, you can't see me. I'm trying. Oh, yes. That's stunning. This is already really pretty. I'm going to add a little bit of this Candy Drip shade into the inner corner slash the front third of the lid because I don't want to lose that peachy pinky tone. And I feel like I lose a little bit of it with the purple on the lid. It still is gorgeous, but I'm losing a little bit of the peach. So I want to add this to kind of remind us why we're here. Yeah. 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 So as you can see, I added some lashes after I finished the inner corner, and I touched up the face a little bit. I didn't want to do too much since this is an After Dark episode, but right now we're going to finish up the lower lash line, those final touches, by adding these two blues here. And I'm praying I don't give myself any fallout because I'm not putting extra powder on my face to catch it. I'm going to do some finishing touches. I'm going to add some of this lighter blue to my waterline. I'm going to add something, I want to add a lighter pinky peach to the inner corner. Then I'm going to give you my final thoughts on this. All right, so here is my final look based off of the Bellabeautebar Cloud 9 palette, and I really, really love how it turned out. This is pretty much exactly the kind of look that I had envisioned when I first saw that palette, and I guess that means my final verdict is no, I don't have like a strong need for this one. You know, I saw it, I thought it was really beautiful, but then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I don't know. There was just a little bit of a disconnect for me in terms of wanting to actually purchase it, which is a good thing because again, we have makeup at home. We did the look that we wanted to with the palette. We win basically. We win. We're not buying a new palette that's like almost $70. You know what I mean? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this look today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of We Have Makeup at Home. And I'm gonna ask something that I've never asked before, but if you have any ideas of palettes that you want me to try to like find vibe dupes for, leave them in the comments. These I'll listen to. These I'll listen to and answer. I know for my book videos, I was like, who knows if I'll read it, but like, I'll look at the palette stuff, of course. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time when I have something else I want to talk about. Bye.